Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Gadigal people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Amanda Bauer. It's Friday, February 24. In Squiz Kids Today, 6 massive objects discovered in space, Bronze Age brain surgery, our winning World Cup women, and cycling at school. That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
The James Webb Space Telescope has looked back millions of years in time to discover 6 massive objects that have completely upended our understanding of how the universe works. Whoa! Let me break it down for you. The Webb telescope, which was launched in 2021, makes its pictures by capturing infrared light in space. Now remember, light takes time to get places. It travels really, really quickly, almost 300,000 kilometres per second. But that means that when we look up at the moon, we're actually seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When we look at Jupiter, we're really seeing what happened there 40 minutes ago. And when we look at the closest galaxy to our own, the Andromeda Galaxy, it's taken 2.5 million years for that light to reach us. So we're really seeing what happened there 2.5 million years ago. An international team led by an Aussie astronomer published its analysis yesterday of Webb telescope images from between 500 and 700 million years ago. They were so surprised to find 6 red blobs, which most likely represent massive galaxies packed with ultra-bright stars, that they ran their calculations again, assuming they'd made a mistake. But there they were, objects up to 100 times greater than anyone expected to see. You see, up until now, experts had thought that galaxies formed slowly as clouds of stars and dust built up over time. The fact that these galaxies are so huge, so close to the beginning of the universe, means that theory is busted. In fact, the scientists who found the massive objects are calling them universe breakers. I'll put some links in your episode notes, including the original paper published yesterday in the journal Nature and 2 different news organisations' reports. It's really interesting to compare the language used in each of them.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Israel, where researchers have found evidence suggesting that a professional brain surgeon was operating 3,500 years ago. While examining the skeletons of 2 wealthy brothers buried in the late Bronze Age, one scientist noticed that a precise rectangle had been cut out of one skull. At first, she assumed that one of her colleagues had taken the sample to test for DNA, but then realised she was looking at an operation performed while the young man was alive, most likely to try to relieve pressure on his brain. Ouch! The procedure involved carving a hashtag shape into the top of the young man's head and then chiselling out the rectangle in the middle. Again, ouch! The cuts were so precise that experts believe they were probably done by a professional. A brain surgeon living in 1500 BCE. Imagine that.
Sport time.
Australia's women just keep on winning. In soccer, the Matildas have had a clean sweep of the Cup of Nations tournament, winning all 3 of their games and beating Jamaica in the final to claim the trophy. This friendly comp was seen as a bit of a dress rehearsal for the Women's World Cup, which will be held in Australia and New Zealand later this year. And over in South Africa, the Australian T20 cricket team is heading to the grand final after beating India in an exciting semi-final overnight. Even though Meg Lanning's team went into the match strong favourites, they were not taking anything for granted. After all, the only 2 losses the Aussie women have had in any format of the great game over the past 2 years have been at the hands of India. Tonight, Australian time, England will play South Africa in the other semi. The final will be held at 3 p.m. on Sunday, but unfortunately, that's local South African time. Kids in WA might have some luck convincing their parents to be able to start watching at 9 p.m, but I'm pretty sure it'll be a no-go for a midnight viewing on the east coast of Australia. Sorry, guys. Oh, and there goes the classroom companion clarion. That means today's activities are tied to this story. Kids will get to compare and contrast Australia's very first ladies soccer team from 1921 with the Matildas. And because every Friday is Games Day with Squiz Kids Classroom, you'll have so much fun you'll hardly know you're reinforcing this week's learning. Action verb charades, anyone? As a reminder, Squiz Kids Classroom is created by teachers, it's curriculum aligned and it's completely free. Sign up on our website now.
Believe it or not.
I'm not sure about you, but when I was at school, I found it really hard to stay sitting still at my desk for hours on end. But a high school in Mexico may have found the answer. Bike desks. Classrooms at Public High School 24 in a town called San Nicolas de los Garza feature bright blue desks with bicycle pedals underneath. As students work quietly on their laptops, they have the option for their feet to be constantly cycling. Many kids say that the movement helps them stay focused, although that wasn't the main reason for introducing the bike desks. Mexico has one of the world's highest rates of childhood obesity. Obesity meaning overweight to the point that it's a health risk. So burning calories while you're sitting at a desk could be a real win in the fight against obesity. Forget biking to school, you can bike at school too.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What is the name of the telescope that has discovered 6 massive new objects in space? That's right, the James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST for short. Question number 2. A school in which country has introduced bike desks to fight obesity? That's right, it's in Mexico. And question number 3. This is a tricky one. Why did a Bronze Age brain surgeon most likely chop a rectangle out of a young man's skull? Well done if you remembered that it was most likely to relieve pressure on his brain.
Shout-outs.
It's February 21, and on this day in 2010, the Indian batsman Sachin Tendulkar scored the first ever double century in a one-day international match. I know, I have cricket on the brain. It's also a Friday, and you know what that means. Lots of birthday shout-outs for today and the coming weekend, for which we are going to need to crack out the old birthday reggae tune. Hit it. It's a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Parker from Oak Park, Lachlan from Burpengary, Arthur from Ivanhoe, Zoe from Sandhurst, Sienna from Brisbane, Denny from Matraville, Matilda from Aberfoyle Park, Max, Jake, Bobby, Andrew and Tom, all from Narrandera, Indy from Warner, Ruby from Glenhaven, Lima from Cherrybrook, Sophie from Adelaide, Hunter from Cambridge Gardens, Olivia from North Rocks, Matthew from Unanderra, Talia from Coromandel Valley, and Malachi listening over in Brunei, and a belated shout out to Ebony, his sister. Belated shout-outs also go to Estelle from Perth, Ellie and Isaiah from Ellamore Vale, and Ben from Victoria. And not forgetting all the Squiz Kids who are celebrating a birthday over the coming weekend. Riley from Yass, Lily from Montmorency, Coena from St Peters, Cameron from Marrickville, Killian from Lane Cove North, Kelly from Point Cook, Ewan from Geelong West, Kaylin from Gladesville, Max from Southport, Lean from Quakers Hill, Charlie from Gundagai, Rian from Helensvale, Felix from St Leonard's, Evie from Rose Bay, Anna from Moonee Ponds, Charmaine from Epping, and Izzy from Bowral. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you want a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. That's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again on Monday. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over